And I'm still very critical of NATO. I would,
Yeah.
if I would decide, I would build the European defense structure totally different than NATO is. So no, none of us likes NATO, but when you are living next to Putin's imperialist Russia, and he's threatening you and the whole Europe, and you can see that he has been attacking, invading almost all the countries neighboring him who cannot defend themselves, then you have to think that what is the least bad option now. So most of our parliamentary group thought that on this situation we are now seeing, uh, it's better to join NATO than not to. But of course, we would like to build something totally different as soon as possible. But it's true that it was not easy for us.
Welcome back to another episode of the Left Agora. My name is Akif, and today you will hear from Jussi Saramo. Since July 2024, he has served as a member of the European Parliament, representing Finland's left-wing party, the Left Alliance, known in Finnish as Vasemmistoliitto, which sits in the parliamentary group, the Left, in the European Parliament. Before that, Mr. Saramo was a member of the Finnish Parliament from 2019 to 2024 and briefly served as Minister of Education between December 2020 and June 2021. He also held the position of first vice chair of the Left Alliance from 2019 to 2022. Jussi Saramo is my first guest from the European Parliament, and we had a rich and wide-ranging conversation. We discussed the differences between working in the Finnish Parliament and the European Parliament, government opposition dynamics, and the extent to which cooperation and communication among left-wing actors is sufficient today. We also explored the ideological orientation of the Left Alliance, Finland's NATO membership, and Mr. Saramo's views on Finland's NATO accession process. And now, here is my conversation with Jussi Saramo. You have been serving in the European Parliament since July 2024. After several years in the Finnish Parliament between 2019 and 2024, as a politician from a left-wing party, how would you describe the main differences between working in these two legislative settings, one national, the other European? Have you encountered any particularly interesting or surprising aspects in how the European Parliament operates compared with the Finnish Parliament?
Well, the main difference is, of course, that in the national level, where you have a government and you have the opposition. And here in the European Parliament, all the groups, usually in the uh, biggest issues, they always split. So in the national level, I used to be a member of the government party and then an opposition party. It's like the night and day. It's the difference. But here, of course, the biggest groups, like the two biggest groups, they have more power than the smaller ones. But still, here usually you can always negotiate and you can make the difference. Even you, I have had many very good experiences of some files that are negotiated together with the right wing parties. Then you might like here it's I would say it's so much about individuals who are rapporteurs and shadow rapporteurs, and in the
Yeah.
international level usually, and I think it's not just in Finland but in most of the countries, that the parliaments usually the role is smaller and smaller, which is a bad thing. That the role of the government ministers is very big, and so actually, when I joined the European Parliament, I came from the opposition, and I was very happy that I could go back. I don't want to be misinterpreted. I appreciate. I think the role of the opposition is very important in democracy, and I was very happy to work in the opposition. But to be honest, in the opposition, you just tell how the government is doing wrong, and you are trying to give counter proposals. But in the end, you cannot change anything usually. But here, you can make the change every week.
That's actually a very interesting difference that you are raising. And this is a significant point when students of European integration learn about the institutions of the European Union, for instance, which institution is considered the most supranational and which is the most intergovernmental. When you observe your colleagues from different political groups in the European Parliament, do you feel that most MEPs see themselves primarily as representatives of their national interests or as advocates for Europe as a whole?
Well, I would say that, like in most of the issues, people represent their group, and not just the group, but the ideology behind the group. And
Yeah,
even there is no like the groups, as I told you, that the groups split all the time. But usually, the groups try to be as united as possible, of course. But then there are some issues that are very important for some
yeah,
countries, and then you can see, okay, let's, like in my table I have the economic issues, and we have the banking issues, and you can see that that like the German banking system is one of a kind, and you can see that the Germans from every group are defending their banking system, and even they see that there might be some need for more European solutions. If they are a threat to the German banking system, then it's very hard to get them involved to changes that go
I
very
see.
deep.
So it depends on the topic, it depends on the issue which is on the
Very much,
table. And
very
does it
much.
also depend on the group ideology, or is it always about the issue?
Well, yeah, you can see that EPP, which is the biggest group, the right wing, I don't know, liberal conservative, a strange ideology, whatever it means, but the let's say the more moderate right wing, they are um, and they have more and more tendencies going closer to the extreme right, and I'm really like at the moment, I would say that the biggest fight inside the parliament is inside the EPP. How is it going to be? If they are going to cooperate with the pro-European, pro-liberal, pro-democracy forces, or if they work together with the extreme right groups. And the group is very divided. But in this group, you can see that they have the German leader, and he takes more and more power inside the group, and they have more and more, like, if you are against the group line, then uh, then you don't get possibilities to speak so much. You don't get possibilities to get the rapporteurships. Like, they are trying to be more united. At the same time, when they are divided, ideologically speaking, but
Mm.
practically speaking, they are trying to be more united. It's looking very bad, and I'm not sure if they can continue like this. But my group, the left, we were always a confederational group. Our
Yeah.
old name is GUE NGL, which means Gauche Unitaire Européenne, which is the French United Europe, and then in English, Nordic Green Left. It already tells that it's very um,
Diverse.
diverse already in two languages in the name, and then they're like. But I would say that our group is more united than ever. So even we have this history of the being a confederational group, that we have kind of two groups inside. We are actually going more and more united at the same time when we see that some other groups are struggling what they should do.
And actually, speaking of the group, there is a core issue that I would like to highlight in several interviews with politicians from left-wing parties. How would you describe the current state of communication and cooperation among left-wing MEPs, but both within the left group and beyond it? And what about actually, as a follow-up question, and what about the relationship between left-wing parties themselves, especially those belonging to what we might call in academia the radical left party family? Do you think that there is still room for improvement in this area? Do you feel that some parties remain too locally focused and only limitedly open to the external world? For instance, I still see some parties that don't have English language websites or contact points even in the 2020s. This is this is certainly not the case for the Left Alliance, which has a multilingual website. But I'm really curious about your opinion about the general state of the left in Europe, including the left in the European Parliament.
Well, there are some practical issues. Like if I just say something as small about what you said, the last, mm, our party in Finland is a middle-sized party in a small country or middle-sized country. So it's also about resources, how many languages you can update. It takes a lot of effort, and in some countries, the political parties don't have such a big resources. Like in Germany, they have huge amounts of resources. The whole political, I mean, not just the parties, but the think tanks close to the parties and everything. So there are, of course, these kind of differences. And Finland is a bilingual uh, country, and we have a lot of Swedish-speaking voters, not just Finnish-speaking voters. So, but we always think that we should do better in Swedish, and like English is like the third language, I would say. That so it's always like also like this. But of course, it's about not just the resources, but preferences. The left always was international movement, not just in Europe but globally speaking. So the left, it's in our blood that we are not nationalists but we are internationalists. And of course, for some, I would say that in the Nordics, there is a left tradition that not often all the parties like European Union so much, which they have been seeing as a neoliberal project, but more like that they say that we would to work more global level and not just European level, and we don't want this this kind of EU. But I would say that we are the whole Nordics. In Finland, we have been more, let's say, European than other Nordic states. But I would say that the whole Nordic left has been going more and more European every year, because even
you mean the Left Alliance is more pro-European than other Nordic counterparts?
yeah, this was the history, but I would say that we are closer to each other also in this issue. In most of the issues, we are so similar. Like the Nordic left parties, we could almost, take the political programs from each other, and because our countries are a bit similar, and so we were always very close to each other. But actually, the main difference used to be how we think about the European Union and European structures, and because I'm proud of the Nordic welfare state, and I think most of the Nordic leftists think that Nordic welfare state was always not perfect, not a close to be perfect, but what the best system in the world that we want to take further, to make it more socialist, to make it more green, more democratic, and so on. And then some of us, we thought that we must defend our system from, and I have to admit that in the European Union, we have a lot of neoliberal structures that force the member states to liberalize their economy and so on. But now I think also in the Nordics, we see more and more that if we try to keep our system only in the national level, we will lose, definitely, because the global capitalism is so strong that we need, even if we don't want to build a fortress Europe, and we don't, but we can see that we need Europe to defend our good parts of our system. And it's not just in the Nordics, but we have welfare systems all around Europe that are superior if you compare them to United States or China or Russia or whatever.
Yeah. Mr. Saramo, I would like to just say a few words about the party websites. I agree with you that it is also about the financial or human resources that some parties don't have that opportunity to make their website bilingual. But sometimes, in my opinion, it is also about the vision of the political party. It is not just related to the resources, but also to what extent that party really wants to cooperate with outside world. Because I understand that Finland is a multilingual country where Swedish is also an official language, but in countries where there is only one official language, I see some very successful party websites of left-wing parties, but on the other hand, sometimes some political parties they are they just at least give me the impression that they are so isolated from international audience. As you can observe this as a researcher, as an academic researcher, or as a person working in media. But thank you very much for all those insights. Would you like to say a few words about the cooperation within the European Parliament among MEPs within your group and also outside your group?
I think one thing here that I've been almost surprised is that, as I said, that it's about individuals. And I have had such a great cooperation with some right-wing MEPs, but also some moderate right-wing MEPs who say that we don't negotiate with you at all. So it's like the cooperation is it depends from file to file and from the national party to national party. But I'm very happy that the most extreme right, it's still in this cordon sanitaire, that we don't do anything with them. But then there are like these ECR conservative rights that also have very extremist tendencies, from the Finnish True Finns and the Swedish Sverigedemokraterna, and they at the same time that I like that there is a cooperation, that it's going over the limits. I can see also threats in the right side. To be honest, for me, it's been very nice that the Greens here, they are clearly a leftist group. The Socialist and Democrats group, they are clearly a leftist group. Even, of course, we have differences, and we sometimes think that they are both supporting the von der Leyen Commission, and we are not. So, of course, we think that they should be more proud and more strong, but still
there are of course differences.
Yeah, but this is not the case and also the liberal group here, the Renew group, the center group. I would say that here they are quite open-minded, and many times we can find some common solutions, and we can cooperate. But in the Finnish politics, the center is just a conservative part of the right wing, and they are always defending the richest people and the taxation that makes that they are totally defending the worst parts of the Finnish system in Finland. And also the Greens in Finland, they have this, they never wanted to be part of the left. Now I would say that in Finland they are better than they used to be, but they are still like you never know what they think. But here you can always kind of trust that there is some common ground for all the left and even in the center to cooperate.
Yeah. And speaking of the party in general so far, how would you describe the Left Alliance ideological position today? Would you say that it's a part of the so-called radical left party family, as we often call it in academia, and also a democratic socialist party? Um, in 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 the most recent elections in Finland, that was the European Parliament elections of May 2024, the Left Alliance received the second highest share of votes, more than 17%. And this is, I must say, an unusual performance for radical left parties in Europe. Where do you think this success comes from, and do you believe it can continue?
Well, all the elections are different. The national, the local, the European elections, the president elections, they are very hard for us. And here, I think it was a sum of many things. One thing was that we lost there was a presidential election that
Yeah.
the Social Democrats and the Greens, they were saying that you have to vote us, not the left, because they are not going to win. So just be pragmatical and forget the left. And the same thing happened in the parliamentary elections and in many elections. So there was uh, kind of a pressure coming that now it's the time to vote for the left, that there is no tactic voting this time, tactical voting. And the other thing was that Lee Anderson, she was the candidate in the presidential elections. And I think the most of the leftist people wanted to vote for her, but
Yeah.
they just tried to be more tactical, which didn't
She is
work.
currently one of the MEPs in the European
Yes,
Parliament from your
yes. So
party and from your group, and she was also the previous chair of the party.
yes. And so she was so popular, and there was kind of a debt from the voters who always wanted to vote for her but couldn't, and like didn't want to for some reasons. This time they all voted, and she got the most votes than anything in the European elections ever. This is something that you have to understand from the Finnish elections, that our elections are very personal. In most of the countries, you vote for the party
Very,
list.
very, very personal, you said.
Yes, like in most of the countries, you have a party list that has the order that is decided by the party. But in
Yeah.
Finland, the order is decided by the voters in the election. So, so of course you vote for the party also, but people think that they vote for the person in the first hand.
Individual.
Yeah, and so so it was also a big part of Lee Anderson's success, and now she's the only Finnish chair of the committee. She's the chair of Employment and Social Committee here, and uh, so this was a combination of, there was a need for more leftist votes, and then there was a need for she was very popular. And I think it would be very hard to get 17% in the parliament elections for the parliament, but I hope, and there is a big possibility that we are going to win the parliament elections also a big time.
And how does the party self-identify? As a radical left party, as a democratic socialist party, eco-socialist party? Do you have a common self-perception among your intra-party discourse?
When my party was founded 1990, it started 1988. The process, the idea was not to
Yeah,
speak about isms, not to be,
labels.
yeah, let's speak about concrete issues. And of course, we have an ideologic positions, but usually we don't call ourselves democratic socialist, eco-socialist, radical left, or whatever, even though I would say that we are all of that. And that's clear for all the voters. But you know, if you just say that we are something, you put the label, and sometimes it's empty. You know, there are a lot of parties and countries where you have radical parties, and when they go to the power, they are not radical at all. And so always when we have been going to the like in the we were in the government 2011 to
Yeah,
2014, and now again 2019 and 2024 23. And
true.
when we go to a government, we really fight that that we are going to have very big changes for the whole society. Otherwise, we don't go to the government. So for us, it's not enough like the Social Democrats in Finland. They just want to govern. We want to change the world. We want to change Finland. And this is like, I'm not sure if it's how radical it's. I think it should be basic politics, but the Finnish politics, we are the most radical party. That's clear because we really want structural changes always when we are in power.
And given your actually government experience as a party, let's turn to another issue, security now. During Finland and Sweden's NATO accession process, the Left Party and the Green Party in Sweden paused a membership. In Finland, the Left Alliance leadership changed its position and officially supported NATO membership, although a minority, but a significant minority, I will say, of the party's MPs still opposed it. What I understand from the media sources, you were among those who voted yes for the membership, but Wikipedia's Finnish edition notes that your decision was with certain reservations rather than out of full support for NATO. If actually my translation is correct from Wikipedia's Finnish edition. How do you see the current security situation in Finland? How would you assess this accession period for Finland and also for the party?
Yes, I have to show I think it shows in the camera here is a poster from my youth. It says that, oh, it's so dark you cannot see the text, but it says that
I think there are bombs.
Yeah, there are bombs coming from airplanes or birds, whatever. Like
pigeons symbolizing peace.
Yeah, kind of. So, but it says that peace or iron. The NATO is not a peace organization or something that it's untranslatable. But yeah, so it's not a peace organization, and I'm still very critical of NATO. I would, if I would decide, I would build the European defense structure totally different than NATO is. So none of us likes NATO, but when you are living next to Putin's imperialist Russia, and he's threatening you and the whole Europe, and you can see that he has been attacking, invading almost all the countries neighboring him who cannot defend themselves, then you have to think that what is the least bad option now. So most of our parliamentary group thought that on this situation we are now seeing, it's better to join NATO than not to. But of course, we would like to build something totally different as soon as possible. But it's true that it was not easy for us. But on the other hand, when you are in the government, and I think this is very important, and for us it's very important. When you go to the government, we always wanted to have a very strict government program that we can rely on the whole 4 years. And if the other parties break, because when you have 10% or something like this of the votes, you are the minority inside the government. And then if you start voting inside the government, you will lose. And then you kind of like you are kind of like it's like a Stockholm syndrome. You are inside the government that is working against you sometimes. So for us, it's important when you go to the government, you have a very strict program. And 2011, when we went to the government, there was a strict program that we are going to make people more equal, but taxation for the basic benefits, so on.
Yeah.
And then when they broke, the right wing and the Social Democrats broke our government program, we left the government. And this time we had a very good government program, which only said that Finland is not going to apply the NATO membership, but we are having the option that if there's going to be changes in the geopolitical, then we might rethink. And now when there was a clear change in the geopolitical situation, it was not just that the Russia attacked Ukraine, but year or something before the Russia attacked Ukraine, Putin said that he said actually that he's going to fix the problems created by Lenin, which is crazy because it's like very old history. But also, actually, maybe you know that Finnish independence was given by Lenin, because we were under the Tsar's Russia, but then there were the Bolsheviks and the Lenin gave us independence. It's a big debate why, but no matter why, but Putin said that he will fix the problems made by Lenin and the mistakes made by Lenin. Then he said,
May
yeah,
I'm sorry for interrupting, but just before the invasion, the full-scale
yes,
invasion, before 22nd of February, 24th of February 2022, he made a speech. And in that speech, actually, he was referring to Lenin and the mistakes made in that period. Are
yes,
you citing that speech, that very
yes.
speech, or even before that?
Well, I don't know how many times he said it, but the point was that he was saying that it was a huge geopolitical loss for the world that the Soviet Union collapsed, and that
Yeah,
he's going to fix it, and very imperialist speeches. And then the more important what he said was that Finland and Sweden are not allowed to join NATO. That he wants to sign some kind of a contract with NATO, some kind of, for us it sounded like Molotov-Ribbentrop in the 1930s, that we are going to be the buffer zone for Putin, and this is totally unacceptable. That he's saying what we can do, and all of this was like we had to rethink, because until the end we wanted to build peace. We saw that Putin is an imperialist, aggressive, undemocratic leader, uh, uh, killing people in many places. But even then we tried to build something. But in the end, Putin showed that it's impossible to build anything, and then we didn't have any good options. And actually, I have to add something more, that I was all the time promoting defense pacts together with Sweden. That Finland and Sweden would be together in some kind of
yeah,
military alliance. But when the Swedish Social Democratic Party decided that they will apply the NATO membership, it was the last nail to the coffin, that I decided that I had no other choice at that situation than to support the membership.
yeah, yeah. Mr. Jussi Saramo, thank you very much for this interview. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your inspiring and valuable insights. We have many more conversations with a wide range of voices and actors coming soon. For more interviews like this one, join me here at the Left Agora by subscribing to the channel. Until next time, let the Agora echo with new voices.